Hey English 112, Ms. Brewer here for your final video lecture for the course, so you're just about done. This week you guys are going to wrap everything up, tie together the literature that you read, the research that you did on this social issue, and you're going to locate a organization that addresses the social issue that you researched and teach the class essentially about what that organization does. We're going to do that with business style presentation. What that means is that your writing style is going to change. You will still use APA format for documentation purposes, but the style of writing and the style of project will change for a business style writing. So first what I want to do is just kind of go over what the assignment is. So if you'll open up with me, the business writing PowerPoint assignment details. So essentially you guys are creating a presentation. You're going to use PowerPoint because I accept Microsoft in this class. So you're going to use PowerPoint, and you're going to review a program or an organization that pertains to the social issue that you selected for your research, for your literature review. So if I wrote my literature review on racial inequality, maybe in the criminal justice system, then I might choose Race Forward as my organization. I might choose a legal defense team as my organization. I might choose the NAACP as my organization. Okay, so you will find the list of organizations to choose from in the link for this week's module. You are not required just to choose from that list. So if you do a Google search or you find a different organization that's not listed there, you're welcome to use that so long as that organization does something to address the issue that you've researched, and you can make those connections. So I'm going to provide you guys with that URL. Feel free to start there. Feel free to choose organizations from there. You are not required to, but it's a pretty extensive list, and it gives you a link, and it also explains what that organization does. So that's very helpful. You're going to make sure you submit your organization of choice, the rationale for your choice. Because of the time frame that we have, generally I have to approve the organization. We don't have time for that. You have about 4 days to put this together. So I'm trusting in you to choose an organization that makes sense, that you can correlate with the issue that you talked about, and that you can tie back to that poetry. Your audience is essentially your classmates. While I'll be grading it, I want you to think about teaching your classmates about the topic and the organization and your connections that you make. So when I say that your slideshow must be researched, obviously you've already done the research on the topic. You're going to teach us a little bit about your issue before you can teach us about the organization that addresses that issue. That background information will come directly from the research you've already done that you put into your literature review. So you're going to teach us that. You will review the background of the issue from the literature review, and then you will teach us about the organization that you've chosen, what they do. I want to make sure that you also tie in your poetry. So remember that your social issue was supposed to tie into some poem, and I will want you to relate that back to the literature in the presentation. And I have a little lesson that tells you exactly how to do that. Make sure that you review the rubric for the assignment as you're working. So I'm going back into the week. The next thing you'll see is the list of social justice organizations. Feel free to use that to choose your organization. Then you have your PowerPoint expectations. So you guys are going to be submitting a PowerPoint that, again, the purpose is to teach us about this organization. There's a couple of things that I want you to consider, and this is in regard to business style writing. No longer are you needing to use long, flowery sentences. That formal academic language is gone, so I don't need to see. You still need to use proper grammar, but you're allowed to use personal pronouns if you choose to. You're allowed to use contractions, okay? You're encouraged to. You most of the time won't even be using complete sentences on this PowerPoint. It will just be the nuggets of information that you would be putting in your presentation. If you were face-to-face in class, you would be actually giving that presentation in class. So a couple of rules for presentations. The first one is really important. It's the rule of 7. You want to have no more than 7 lines of text, 7 words per line on a slide. This rule is to get you to not write in paragraphs, not lift, copy, and paste and put paragraphs on your PowerPoint presentation. All right, the point of the PowerPoint presentation is a guide for your audience of the main points of the presentation. For the purposes of the online course, you can have your introductory slide, which might introduce everything, and that can be a paragraph, but then all of your information should follow that rule of 7, and then if you have a conclusion slide and that's a paragraph, that's fine. But that should be you writing about why you chose to do what you did and introducing your presentation and wrapping up your presentation. In between, you're just providing me with the basic information, okay? So the way that you're going to do this is you're going to give a little bit of background information on the issue. Again, you've already done the research. It comes from your literature review. You're going to make sure you connect that issue to at least one poem. So you may have a quote from a poem on a slide and then a slide that explains how they relate. And then you're going to teach us about the organization and what they do to address your social issue. The breakdown that I have here for you is a guideline. You don't have to follow within that, all right? But your PowerPoint presentation should be 10 slides or more. So if you turn in something that's 4 slides, that's not going to get the full credit for the project. You need a title slide because this is the APA format. Make sure you have APA 7th edition on there. Don't worry about the spacing, but make sure the information is there. Then you can do this how you choose. This is just my suggestion. I suggest you start with the background. So the information from your literature review, teach us a little bit about the issue. What did you learn about that issue when you did your research? Present that information like you did from the literature review. If you have data, statistics, or quotes, make sure that you include an in-text citation in APA format. Then after you do the background, you might make a connection to the poetry, okay? Which poems addressed that issue? How did they do it? Include a quote from the poem, cite it APA format. That means don't take the citation from MLA. You have to change it to APA. And then I want you to teach us about the organization. How does that organization address your social issue? You can teach us a little bit of background. So if I choose the NAACP, I might have one slide that just talks about how it started, when it started, what its mission is. After that slide, every other slide needs to tell me what does that organization do to address the issue that I'm presenting on. You will get that information from that organization's website. You will need to create a APA citation for that website. It should show up on your references page. If you directly quote or take data or statistics from their website, make sure you include an in-slide citation, a parenthetical one, right there. For the references slide, this should be the poems that you cite, articles from your literature review, and a citation for the organization's website. That's really important. So that PowerPoint presentation is going to be your final project. There is a rubric here. Make sure you review it. That's how I'm grading them. I did provide you with a student example of the PowerPoint. Just be aware that this particular student example is I'm waiting for it to open, is from APA 6th edition. So make sure your information on that first title slide has all of the information required for APA 7th. All right, there's more information there, but you can see that they did an introduction because it was an online course, and then they provided background information. They just pulled information that they could present on about their issue from their literature review. And then they talked about, on slide 6, if you go there, they talked about their organization. You can see they pulled their logo, so they attempted to do an in-text citation. It's not formatted properly, but it's there. And then they tell us a little bit about what that organization has done. So the background information, when was it incorporated, what is it, what does it do? And then they go into the services that they offer. They go into some data and statistics from that particular website and the impact of the organization. That's the most important thing. They made connections to Violence and Othello because this is from when we did a play in the class. You would, of course, be making connections to the poetry, not to the play. And then a conclusion slide, and your references need to be in APA format. So that's the student example. You can kind of sort of model your stuff about that, but just remember we are in APA 7th edition. So make sure you make those changes. Your final exam study guide, it just tells you what to review. So to study for the final exam, You'll need to go through the Moodle course. Make sure you understand how to analyze poetry, right? What is the purpose of poetry? What is a theme? Those types of things. You'll need to understand the difference between APA and MLA formats, all right? So can you identify if an in-text parenthetical citation is APA or MLA, okay? Because they look different. You'll need to understand the requirements for business and academic writing. So for business writing, you'll need to know the difference between a memo, an email, and a letter. You'll need to know what is ABC format for business writing. For academic writing, you will need to know, of course, what is formal academic writing, what are some of the rules for formal academic writing, and then, of course, you'll need to know the purposes of the things that we've done. So a lot of the attendance assignments and journals that I've asked you, you'll need to know the purpose of these assignments. What is the purpose of a thesis, of an outline, of a literature review, of a literary analysis, okay, of an abstract, those types of things. That's what you're going to find on your final exam. There is only one short essay question. Make sure that you do follow the instructions on the essay question and you answer the question as it is asked. The other questions on the final are multiple choice. So going back in here, you have an MLA versus APA review and the sample paper just to go over, but honestly, to review for the final exam, go back through the couple of weeks and look through the lessons and kind of just read through those lectures that I have on there. You don't have to rewatch the videos. Hopefully you took notes when you watched the videos the first time. That would be helpful. But there are written out lectures. Just read through those and study through those and you should be fine. Your social justice PowerPoint, that's again tying everything together. When I say social justice, that's because the organization works towards that for your issue. So upload that PowerPoint presentation to that assignment. Make sure you review it for like grammar and things like that. Make sure your citations are correct and make sure that you are providing information about everything that's required for that presentation. That assignment will not be accepted late, so make sure you get it turned in on time. Your final exam will open up on July, I believe, 20th. Let me double check when it opens so that you can know exactly how long you have available to do it. The 22nd. So it's going to open on the 22nd and it's going to close on the 25th. Make sure that you get that complete on time. You have an hour and a half to complete the exam. You probably won't need it, but if you start the exam at 11:50, you're not going to have enough time to finish it if you start at 11:50 on the 25th. So make sure you give yourself time to complete the final exam. Your course reflection, this is your final journal for the course. It is worth 25 points as opposed to 10. Make sure that it's 300 to 500 words. Make sure that you answer all of these questions. Make sure that you use examples from the literature that we read, the poetry, and the research that you did in this final course reflection. So I'm offering something a little extra to this class that I don't normally do because we're such a condensed class. If you have a grade in your coursework section that you are not pleased with, maybe even a 0, okay, you are allowed to complete this extra credit assignment. You will write a cover letter and a resume. Use the cover letter and resume workshop to create your cover letter and resume. Make sure you follow the instructions. It should be one document, first page cover letter, second page resume. Make sure that you use the workshop, okay, because I'm going to give you a grade on it. It's normally something that we would do in a 16-week course. We just didn't have time in this class. So what I'm allowing you to do is you don't have to do this. If you choose to upload this, make sure that in the comment for the assignment, you tell me which coursework assignment you would like for me to replace that grade with this, and I'll be happy to do it. But if you don't do it right, and the grade's the same, I'm not going to replace it. So just be aware of that. That's an extra credit like assignment for you to do. And then if you scroll on down to this last little section where it says thanks for a great class, this final course survey is optional. However, I will add 5 points to the assignment of your choice. That's any assignment in the class. But you have to tell me which assignment for number 8. If you tell me whichever assignment gives me the most, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that math. I don't have time. So you need to go through your through your grades and tell me where to add those 5 points. But do be aware that I'm giving you an opportunity to put 5 points on an assignment. So you need to give me some details on this. All right. So answer these 8 questions honestly, but in detail and respectfully, and let me know, what you got out of the class and what you'd like to see change. If you made it through, congratulations. 5 weeks is a crazy intense class. And so I'm very proud of you guys for sticking it out. Have a great rest of your summer.